Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having us here. I'm Malcolm Harvey. I'm the CEO of the Qlaims Group. My own background has been in property claims for about the last 30 years. I'm probably far too old and grumpy to go out on claims anymore. I'd probably upset the customer as well as the principal. So nowadays, my mission in life and my company's mission is to bring technology to insurance claims. That's what we do, to make life easier. Now, I think loss adjusting in its present form has been around for about 230 years. I remember I researched one of the oldest loss adjusting companies in the UK, and they could trace their roots back to 1790. So that's the early days of the fire offices. So not an awful lot has changed. You still have to have a professional to go out and review the loss. And we're interested, Qlaims is interested in bringing new labour-saving devices to insurance for professionals like yourselves. As far as I can see, there haven't been too many developments in tools for loss adjusters other than emails and Microsoft Excel. You still have to go out, and what we're looking at today, we're looking at different forms of, should we say, labour-saving devices for the loss adjusting and claims industry. Today I'm with Richard Forsyth of Sightcall and with John Mainwaring of Qlaims, and we're going to show you direct video streaming, how it can be used. Claim responders, a new term. I'm not going to steal John's thunder, I'm going to let him talk about what claim responders are. And then drones on demand, which is something that we do. Again, without stealing too much of their thunder, we've been field testing this software for about 18 months now. We've tried it in various claim scenarios. One that might appeal to the IFAA is that we had a claim. We were asked by a Lloyd's broker last Christmas. He wanted to see his client in St. Martin in the Caribbean. He'd had a loss. So we gave him the software, gave him a license sign on for the software, and the Lloyd's underwriter, broker, could make a payment to the client instantly because he could see from the footage what the damage was. So that's the power of this software. It's not restricted by any kind of international boundaries. But Richard would talk about that in more detail in a minute. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Richard Forsyth.
Richard Forsyth. So I'm here representing Sightcall. For those of you who have never heard of Sightcall before, we are a cloud-based live video assistance platform. So what that means is we are specifically engineered to deliver real-time live video assistance to a remote, whether they're in a field, whether they're a consumer, whether they're one of your adjusters, whoever it might be, anywhere in the world. And we focus specifically on high-quality live video services. As you can see there, we are headquartered out of San Francisco, as all good software companies should be, obviously, but our main heart is in Paris. We're very much focused on, initially from a European perspective, and therefore when you start to look at things like GDPR, data privacy, that's really at the core of everything that we do from a design outward. We focus on being able to be highly scalable, highly flexible, and obviously it's really about the usability of services. We have three key verticals that we look at. That's field engineering, so anyone who has to go out and repair something, how can we help and support them do that? Customer services, so guys like BT, if you've got an issue with your own consumer broadband, we work with them to help and guide those consumers. And the final area is around insurance. And insurance is something that we really see having a very key role in, specifically around the digitisation of things like claims, onboarding of new customers, and just from a brokering perspective, being able to see specifically what's happened at a site very quickly and very easily. If I look at some of the customers that we work with, obviously a large number of insurance organisations that we already work with here. If I think of someone like an Allianz, even just in Spain, they're doing around 30,000 calls a month with us. And that's really focused on both the consumer side, so talking directly to customers around a claim and helping them capture the information of that and be able to process a claim digitally and quickly, but also around the fulfillment side. So in terms of checking on repairs, in terms of supporting workshops where there's a gap in the amount that's been approved in a policy versus what's actually going to be needed to require to actually fulfill the service. If I look at something like an Allianz in Spain, last year they saved something like 170 million kilometres of travel from their adjusters' perspective, because they're not having to travel out to a site every time they look at working on a particular engagement. They can go straight into a video call, they can guide the technician, they can start to capture that information, and then they can save that against the claim or policy or data wherever it is. So it's really around taking what has traditionally been quite an analog process and quite a long and extended process. We're speeding that up and we're digitising that process and really helping a customer experience improve throughout the process. Without further ado, I'll give you a quick demonstration. I've got my able assistant Malcolm, who'll be helping me here, and really this is going to demonstrate really how I guess the effectiveness of actually running through a live video session. So we send out a text message to the consumer. That could be to a customer at the site. It could be to an adjuster in the field, and hopefully you'll see the text message come through. That's the beauty of live demos. And what we can do then is straight away go into a conversation with that customer. So it could be that you need to capture some photos to see the scale of the damage that's been done. It might be that something's just happened and you need to work out whether it is a valid claim, or it could be that you're checking up on works that have been completed throughout that. And what will happen then, we can send out either an SMS message, we can send it could be a URL link, it could be an email that gets sent out to the customer. It has a link in there. Whoops. Let me see. If you click on the text message again there, Malcolm. If you just go through that again, we should see. We saw it start up, but then it dropped out, so I think maybe it was cancelled.
Right, I'll try it again.
Okay. So, and ultimately what you're doing then is taking over the, you'll see there, whoops, it keeps dying, does it? Okay, well let's do another version of that then. It can sometimes be on the, here we go. Do you want to just try one last time, and if not, we'll.
Let's try plan B, shall we?
Okay. Obviously, we're dependent upon the network conditions, which is always our. We're not magicians. Alternatively, I can swear it could be that the Wi-Fi occasionally blocks these things, so we could switch to. I might switch to a hotspot and see if that's any better. Because ultimately, what you're reliant upon is that the firewall that you're working to isn't blocking any of your video stream. So let's. I'll cancel that and I'll send that again. So you should get another message come through, Malcolm. Okay, so if you click on that. We should hopefully go into a call. Here we go.
It's just going round at the moment.
Okay. Now, obviously, I'm working off a 4G hotspot, so it may be that we might give it one last go, and then if it doesn't.
It says it's connecting, Richard.
Okay, let me just do. Let me do one more for you. It's the gremlins of. Okay. There we go. Okay. Now, obviously, it's designed to operate at the edge of networks, and obviously, if you are in an environment where there's a challenge with a particular firewalls and things like that can block the service. But obviously, when you're out at the edge of a network, you can see here I've got straight away got visibility of the back camera of Malcolm's. I can see that, see what battery power he's on. I can see what service he's on. If I ask him to go and look at something specifically, I can then obviously pause that and I can annotate that information. Yep. So I can give details of and highlight certain areas that we want, and we can save that information. Likewise, I can zoom in from a camera, so we can be highly accurate when you're actually looking to capture information at the remote side, and then I can take a snapshot. Now, taking an HD snapshot is very beneficial because obviously from that perspective, you've then got a highly accurate image that you can use and put into your claim. You can still highlight the areas of damage, for example, and then going on from that, I can obviously then push that out to the customer and say, it's whatever, we'll give you a £500 claim, and that will go out to the customer at the remote side. They can then accept, sign and confirm that back to us. So you're looking at a full kind of digital transformation of a claim. And obviously then from Malcolm's perspective, he'll sign that, and once he confirms it back to us, we should get that, and I won't use his signature in order form. But then straight away up here, you can see I've then got an annotated picture captured with all the information. It can be geolocated, it can be put exactly where that information is, and we can take that and we can then process that from a claim perspective. There's a large number of other features that we can do, but obviously with challenging network conditions, you don't always do all of them. But even to the point of being able to turn on the torch of the of the camera, so you can actually then see specifically exactly what you're looking at there. If you're looking to take for example, if the customer's already had a quote for something, you're looking from a fulfillment perspective, you can capture that. I can then save that against the case. So again, from a policy perspective, we've got full visibility. I can save that information, and then that's up here in my browser, and I send that to wherever we need it to go within the case. So depending on the level of integration that you take, this is obviously just being used as a standalone, but if you were to then process this into your systems, that could go directly into your claims service. So and what we'll do there, I think we'll close that down for now. We'll go back to the presentation. Now, what you can also see from that is, I guess from our perspective, is specifically looking at the different use cases. I mean, you'll see here one of our customers, Etica, who use our service, and they're using that from a motor claims perspective. So again, full digitisation of the claims process, call up with the initial FNOL, go straight through to capturing the information, proposing an amount that you'll pay on that policy, sign, and they'll process and put that payment in your account. So really what we're trying to do is capture quality information, but also speed up that entire claims process. The last area I'll touch on now is really looking at where in that claims process we fit and where do we fit in the overall insurance area. And from our perspective, and I guess I would say this, but I see us fitting right the way across the entire spectrum. So firstly, if you start looking at onboarding of customers, if you're looking at taking on something that may be a high value item, if you're looking to actually get an assessment of that, instead of having to go out to site and do an assessment of it physically, you can do a live video assessment. You could immediately understand exactly what quality the service is in. You can do a geolocate, so you can see where that item is located, and you can obviously capture that and put that into your own digital catalogue, so you've got that tracked against the policy. Obviously, FNOL is a fairly obvious one. Straight away you can see what element of damage there is, whether that can be processed purely from a low value claims area, or whether that has to have a site visit. And really, we're looking there to speed up the process and reduce the number of visits that are going out to site. In terms of responder, I mean, we partner with Qlaims in this area, and it's really around supporting their responder network so that they can get someone out to site as quickly as possible, and then that information that the responder gets is put exactly into the right expert's hands, whether that's into your own adjusters, whether that's using an adjuster's desk, or whether that's simply capturing that information and sending it into your tools and systems. And then obviously around fulfillment, we do a lot of work here in terms of tracking claims that are being repaired, whether it's repair organisations picking up a claim, doing their initial assessment of it, and supporting whatever value of claim is going to be paid for. And that's really all part of the overall service, which can be linked together with live video assistance. Are there any questions on that at all before we move on? Internationally, yes, that's a very good question. We certainly can. So if I think about someone like an Allianz, they're using us in around 18 countries, so throughout Europe and also into South America. But really, it's built across the back of the internet, so it's anywhere that you get any kind of data connectivity. The platform itself can switch between 3G, 4G, Wi-Fi, so wherever there's a signal, we can deliver the service. And if you think about trying to scale your services from a customer perspective, if you have a desk of adjusters, they can be supporting around the world. So, you know, if there's a particular, you know, natural disaster in an area, for example, you can then scale up quickly by using global resources and still leveraging this technology to get eyes on the ground. So it's really focused around being able to do that. Okay.
Okay, good afternoon. So I'm John Mainwaring, the Chief Technical Officer of Qlaims. I'm just going to run through a couple of our other technology propositions. Just to expand on Richard's demonstration of the video streaming software, we have what we call claim responders. Obviously, you've seen the video streaming software and how that works, and the idea of that, the concept of that. What we do find is that in practice, there are a number of people who are unwilling to or unable to actually operate the technology themselves, as in be the operator of the video camera. So they may not have a smartphone, they may not be willing to get involved because perhaps they're a high net worth customer or a distressed customer, so they just don't want to get involved in the claims process themselves. Or it could be there's an element of fraud, so maybe they refuse to stream video because there's something about the claim that they don't want somebody to see at that stage. So what we're building, our solution, is a network of what we call claim responders. And these are effectively freelance workers, gig economy workers, so they're not employed by us. But obviously we carry out training, we carry out criminal record checks on them, and obviously we understand that they are representing the reputation and brand of the customers we work with, so they have to operate to a specific level. In terms of who they are, they're a broad spectrum of people. They range from freelance photographers who are quite quiet in their work, so they're available to go out and look at claims for us and be the camera operators. Quite a lot of retired professionals, and that's an area we're expanding in. So we are working with organisations of retired police officers, retired armed forces personnel. Obviously, again, a very good sort of segment to work with because they are trustworthy people, reliable people, and used to dealing with perhaps claimants in distressful situations, that kind of thing as well. So they're a good sort of market for us. We are looking to build a national network in the UK. In the moment, it's kind of a pilot. It's been in pilot for about a year in the southeast, but we are, as I say, expanding that in relation to demand across the UK. And at the moment, it's on a pre-booked basis. So what will happen is a loss adjuster will contact us. So they might contact us today and say, we need some eyes at this location tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. And we will book one of our responders to go to that scene, obviously with their smartphone, and connect back to the adjuster in their office. And there's a live dialogue and a live video stream between them. As this is being expanded, it can actually be, once we're resourced enough, it can be very much on demand, almost like an Uber taxi service. So there is the software capability to request someone to be on the ground, and they could be there, you know, literally within half an hour if once we've got the adequate resources. But as I say, at the moment, it is on a pre-booked basis. So why use the responder network? The obvious thing is a huge cost saving. So obviously, using a loss adjuster to send them out to the scene of a claim, it involves travel expense, obviously salary, car costs, all that kind of thing. If we send one of our gig economy workers, then there's a significant operational cost. And at the moment, we're projecting that at about 60% in the trials that we've made so far. There's very much a speed element to this as well, because obviously loss adjusters, claims professionals are busy people, busy diaries, but we can get these claims responders, they're available on demand, and we can get them out usually on the same day. As again, we resource up, then we're looking to build a bigger network, and then we'll have more people, more towns, cities across the UK, and we're looking to be able to get people out within a couple of hours. It's ideal for what we call maintenance calls. So obviously one of the benefits of the speed is an FNOL situation, so we can get somebody out to the scene very quickly. So again, loss adjuster can get eyes on the scene to start to scale and scope a claim within hours. But also we find that on repeat visits, so perhaps you've gone into a claim, you've recommended, started some work, some stripping out, drying out, whatever that is, and a week later, a couple of weeks later, you want to have a look at it, and rather again than send a loss adjuster out to the scene at that kind of travel time and expense, we can send one of these responders out and they can live stream and get you an idea of the progress, and also take photographs at the scene, which obviously you can then use to assess whether things are progressing at the expected levels, that kind of thing. We are finding and we're predicting that the desk-based loss adjusting model is going to grow, because obviously again using this sort of technology you can have the experienced professionals back in the office or working from home or whatever the model is, and don't have to be driving hundreds of miles around the country to look at claims. Obviously again the responders will do that on their behalf. Okay, any questions on the responder side of things? Oh, okay. So I'll move on to our next proposition, which is drones on demand. So in the UK, commercial use of drones is on the rise, excuse the pun, being used in agriculture, surveying, telecoms, a wide range of industries. And now we're starting to see drones being adopted in the insurance world. At the moment in the UK, it's still quite an early, sort of early adopters. So we're finding they're being used on cat losses. So large brokers and loss adjusters are using them on cat losses, but it's gradually starting to use them for things like domestic roof claims, which we're looking at here, roof inspections, that sort of thing. Obviously in the UK, as in any country in the world, there are laws governing the use of drones. So in the UK you can't fly over 400 feet in height, you can't fly a drone further than 500 metres away from the operator. So there are various drones laws in place. And the commercial pilots, to operate for payment basically, you have to have a licence in the UK from the Civil Aviation Authority. So you have to actually take a theory test, having studied the laws and the way the airways are policed in the UK, and then you have to take a practical demonstration as well to show how you would carry out a risk assessment before you use a drone, and that you understand the privacy laws and various things like that. So it is quite strictly controlled. Obviously, because it's very new technology and it's a new industry, that is changing all the time as well. And the Gatwick incident just before Christmas, that's already kind of changed some legislation. So there are new laws coming in terms of specifically they're around proximity to airports and air routes, that kind of thing. But the laws are changing all the time because, as I say, it's new technology. In the UK, we work with an organisation called Drone Safe Register, and they are the largest network of CAA-approved pilots. They've got over 400 CAA-approved pilots. So we can get these guys out very quickly on demand. And within that, there's a lot of speciality as well. So there are guys that have got infrared drones with infrared cameras and 3D modelling software and different things like that. So it's not just the data you capture, it's what you then do with it afterwards. And within this organisation, Drone Safe Register, that we partner with, there's a lot of that expertise. So benefits of using a drone, again, it's the speed. So it's actually getting a pilot on the ground. So if you get a call and there's been a storm or something like that, we can actually get a drone pilot out literally within hours. They can either live stream the footage. So again, using the software that Richard demonstrated, you could be sat in the office here, you could have a drone flying above a property in Glasgow or Cardiff or anywhere, and you could be directing the pilot. So you can actually be viewing it live and saying to the pilot, can you zoom the camera in on that chimney or fly around the rear of the property or whatever you want to see, and it can be viewed live. There is also an option to have it recorded, so it may be that you don't need to see the footage live or it's not convenient. So again, the drone pilot can record video and photographs and then through a secure cloud sharing service deliver that to you. Obviously a very cost-effective alternative to some of the solutions at the moment that you might need for height access. So scaffolding, cherry pickers, that kind of thing. There's a time element to that as well. Obviously if you need to get scaffolding up the side of a building, could take days, weeks, and significant costs in that. Drone pilot could be there within a couple of hours, fly the drone up, take some footage, land and be away, all done, say, within hours. And also obviously when you're accessing height, scaffolding, ladders, all that kind of thing, where there are people involved, you've got stringent health and safety requirements. So you have to make sure, obviously, wet weather particular, that sort of thing, people are going up scaffolding, it can be dangerous. Whereas with the drones, obviously again there are laws controlling their use, but in terms of a sort of a manpower health and safety aspect, you haven't really got to worry about those sorts of issues. Okay, any questions on the drones or any of the technology side? Okay, thank you.